तो कैसे समझ में आता है? तो कोई भेजता है क्या मेल, मतलब मैसेज आता है?
हाँ, इधर टेक्स्ट भी आता है यहाँ पे, और ये आप बात करेंगे तो
ठीक है, बस सुनाई दे रहा होगा।
हाँ।
ठीक है, गुड मॉर्निंग। आई थिंक आई शुड स्टार्ट दिस लेक्चर. People are still joining. I'm sorry I'm late for the lecture. So आज का topic is little bit boring. I think you already might have covered this topic. It's about sterilization techniques. Okay, this is covered under your bioethics. So I will, in a very rapid way, complete this topic because I know most of you will not be interested in listening to this. So let's start. Uh, the first thing is what's the main contents of the topic, which I'm going to take today. So first we will see about some definitions. Then we will look at the methods of sterilization. So basically there are two methods of sterilization, that is physical methods and the chemical methods. Okay. Now look, we will look at some definitions. The first is what is the aim of the sterilization. The aim of the sterilization, it is to remove or destroy the microorganisms. So basically, we have already might have known about various terms like sterilization, then we have disinfection, then we have antiseptics, then we have asepsis. There is a difference between all these terms. What is the difference? We will let you know. The first is what is sterilization. So what happens in sterilization when an article, surface or medium is made free of all microorganisms. They can either be in the vegetative form or they can be in the spore form. So when we make an article, surface or medium free from all the microorganisms, basically we are killing everything. It can be bacteria, it can be spore. So that means it is the process of sterilization. Second is what is disinfection. So when we are just killing the pathogens, when we are just killing the pathogen and there's destruction of the pathogens or the organisms capable of producing infections, so that is disinfection. So in disinfection, basically we are killing the microorganisms which are in the viable form. Means they are there. It is not able to kill the spores. Means that in disinfection we are not killing the spores. We are just killing the microorganism in the viable form. So in disinfection, what we achieve that the number is reduced to a level that is no longer harmful for the health. So when we say an article is completely made free of organism, either in vegetative or spore form, it is sterilization. And when we are just killing the pathogen, but which are not in the spore form, that is the disinfection. Now another term is antiseptics. So chemical disinfectants which can safely be applied to living tissue used to prevent infection by inhibiting the growth of microorganisms. So what happens? Disinfectants, there are various types of disinfectants. So all the disinfectants cannot be applied on the living tissue, like the phenol and everything which we use at the home. They cannot be applied at the living tissue. So in case we can apply a chemical disinfectant safely to a living tissue, that is called as an antiseptic. What is asepsis? The technique by which occurrence of infection into an uninfected tissue is prevented. This process is called as asepsis. This is the same process which we follow in the OT. Means we prevent the occurrence of infection into an uninfected tissue. So what is the use of sterilization / disinfection? Throughout your chapters, throughout your books, you might be see that sterilization and disinfection have been used interchangeably. So basically they are two different things, but usually in the books we will see they are being used as interchangeable. So what is the use? For materials, instruments used in surgical and diagnostic procedures to sterilize and disinfect those materials. Second is for media and reagents used in laboratory to sterilize or disinfect those materials. In food and drug manufacturing, safety from contaminated microorganisms. Now, methods of sterilization, as already told, divided into two, that is a physical method, and second is chemical method. In physical, we have four main things, that is sunlight, heat, that is dry heat, moist heat, filtration, radiation. In chemicals, you have various chemicals starting from alcohol, aldehyde, phenols, halogens, oxidizing agents, salts, surface active agents, dyes, and vapor phase disinfectant. In this chapter, which I am taking, we are going to just focus on the physical method. Basically, why we are not taking the chemical methods? Basically, chemical methods of sterilization, all the chemicals, either it is alcohol, aldehyde, phenols, and halogens, everything, most of them are disinfectants. They are not the sterilizing agents. Yani most of these will be able to kill only the pathogens. They will not be able to kill the spores. So in the sterilization chapter, we are going to just take the physical methods. Now in the physical method, the first is sunlight. Everyone knows sunlight has a germicidal effect, which is because of the ultraviolet rays and also because of the heating effect. We can see that it is in the natural method of sterilization, as water in tanks, rivers, and lakes, they get automatically sterilized by the direct effect of the sunlight, as well as UV light effect or the heating effect. Second is the heat. It is the most reliable and commonly employed method. As we already know, there are two types of heat, that is dry heat and moist heat. What is the principle for heat? How does the heat kills a microorganism? How does the heat sterilizes an object? So dry heat has different mechanism, moist heat has different mechanism. Dry heat kills by three mechanisms. First is by denaturation of bacterial proteins. Okay, proteins are denaturated by the heat. We all know, as in the case of egg. Why does the egg solidifies after heat? Because it is because of the denaturation. Same way, dry heat can kill the microorganism by denaturation of the bacterial proteins. Second is the oxidative damage. There is when the heat is there, or there is oxidative damage, there is formation of oxygen radicals and all, which will cause the oxidative damage to the bacteria or to the microorganism. And third is by the toxic effect of the elevated levels of electrolytes and DNA damage. So basically what happens when we heat, water evaporates. So the electrolytes which are already present in the bacteria or other places, it will increase in the absence of water. There will be elevated levels of electrolytes and there will also be DNA damage. So that will be also detrimental for the microorganism. Second is moist heat. How does the moist heat kills? It kills by the denaturation and coagulation of proteins. So moist heat has only one mechanism, and dry heat has three mechanisms of sterilization. Now there are various factors which will influence the sterilization by heat. First is the nature of heat, whether it is dry heat or moist heat which we are using. Second is the temperature and duration. The more the time we heat or more the time we increase the temperature, the more amount of sterilization we are going to get. Then the characteristic of the microorganism and spore present. Now this is very important. You might have seen in your various chapters, that the time duration for various microorganisms to get killed is different. Various microorganisms have various levels of resistance to heat. So it is also a very important factor which will determine the outcome. So how much heat or how much time we have to heat that or that article to make it free of that particular microorganism. And the type of material. Now this is a very important thing. What happens when we are trying to sterilize an item, but in that item there is presence of protein, there is presence of fats. So what happens, these two things, they are going to increase the time and the duration which will be required for the sterilization of that particular thing or particular item. So we have four types of dry heat sterilization method. That is, first is the red heat, then we have flaming, we have incineration, then we have hot air oven. First is the red heat. What is red heat? Basically what we are doing, we are just keeping a thing over a flame and we will keep it there till it becomes red hot. So basically we are heating it till it becomes red hot. Red hot means it will achieve a very high range of temperature. So it will help in killing of the microorganism. Uses inoculating wires or loop, which we use in microbiology. They are sterilized by using the red heat. Then tips of the forceps. Again, we are using the red heat. And we are heating till they become red. Then needles, we can also sterilize them by using the red heat. Then flaming. What does flaming mean? Flaming means we are just gonna, we will take a flame and we are gonna just pass the object we want to sterilize over it for a few seconds. We are just gonna pass it over. Like glass slides, we can sterilize that by flame. Scalpels, mouth of culture tubes, all can be done by use of flaming. Then we have incineration. What is incineration? Basically, incineration is nothing. It is burning at a very high temperature. Burning at a very high temperature using a machine called incinerator. So a very high temperature is achieved in an incinerator. It is from 870 degree to 1200 degree centigrade. This is the temperature which is achieved in an incinerator. So infective material is reduced to ashes by burning. So usually for the biomedical waste management in the hospital, we use incineration. So be it animal carcasses, soil dressings, bedding, pathological material. So most of the articles which we sterilize in the biomedical waste management, we usually use incineration. Then second is hot air oven. So what is basically hot air oven? We have a picture also of hot air oven. This is the picture of hot air oven. So basically hot air oven What is it? This is electrical device in which electricity is used to generate the heat. Okay, we will use the electricity to generate the heat, and there is a fan within the hot air oven, which will it will do? It will allow the even distribution of the hot air in the chamber. Okay, we have a radiation coil, then we have a fan which will help in the distribution of the hot air in the chamber, and we have a thermostat which will regulate the temperature. So what is the temperature at time? Now it is very important that we should know. It is usually asked in the Viva. It may be asked in your spots that what is the temperature and time for the hot air oven. So we have three scenarios. The most common is 160 degrees centigrade for 2 hours. Now there's a term called holding time. What basically is a holding time? So whenever you see this term holding time, what it means? It means holding time means, when we start the appliance, it will not directly achieve a temperature of 160 degrees centigrade. It will take some time, maybe it will take 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So once it achieves 160 degrees centigrade, when the thermostat shows that your machine has achieved the temperature of 160 degrees centigrade, then from that time you have to start counting your time. It means once 160 degrees centigrade has been achieved, from that time you have to count 2 hours. So from that time till the end of the cycle, that is the holding time. It is not from the starting of the machine or from the pressing of the button to start the machine. Second scenario which we can also use 170 degrees centigrade for 1 hour. In this, we are increasing the temperature by 10 degrees centigrade and decreasing the time duration for the holding by 1 hour. And alternatively, we can use 180 degrees centigrade for 30 minutes. So these three scenarios we can use, but most commonly used is 160 degrees centigrade for 2 hours. Now what is the use of hot air oven? For what articles we use? What articles are sterilized by the use of hot air oven? So glasswares, usually your glass syringes, petri dishes, flasks, pipettes, whatever is made of glass is sterilized by the use of hot air oven. Then we have surgical instruments like scalpels, scissors, forceps. These all are sterilized by the use of hot air oven. Chemicals such as liquid paraffin, fats, glycerols, glove powder, all these things are also sterilized by the use of hot air oven. There are various precautions which should be taken while using a hot air oven. First, it should never be overloaded. There should be free circulation of the air, so proper sterilization does take place. Material which we are using, whatever the material which we want to sterilize by the use of hot air oven, it should be perfectly dry. It should not be wet. This is very important thing. One more thing is test tubes of flask. If we want, I have told you that we sterilize glassware by the use of hot air oven. So test tubes and flasks made of glass, if you want to sterilize them, very important thing is their openings should be plugged, fitted with the cotton plugs. Meaning they should be closed with the cotton plugs. Air should not go inside them. Another thing is petri dish and pipettes, they should be wrapped in paper, and rubber materials or any inflammable material should not be kept inside the oven because it may burn. And very important thing which everyone should observe is that once the holding time is over, we should not immediately open the door of the hot air oven. Basically, we should at least wait for 2 hours for the objects to cool down. Why is it is important? Because the glassware, it is very hot. It might have achieved a temperature of 160 degrees centigrade. And if we open the door immediately once the cycle is over, what will happen? It will come in contact with the cold temperature of outside. So there may be cracking of the glassware because of the hot and cold phenomenon. Now, what are the sterilization controls which we use in the hot air oven? Very important. It is usually asked in the Viva and usually in your spots. So, biological control, as per the latest guidelines, the spores, that is 10 power 6 of Bacillus atrophius are used. Okay, now you have to remember this. This is a changed guideline. Now we are using Bacillus atrophius. Earlier, usually in most of the books, it might be given Clostridium tetani, but as per the recent guideline, it has been given. They were earlier used non-toxigenic strain of Clostridium tetani, but nowadays we use Bacillus atrophius, spores of Bacillus atrophius. Now the physical sterilization control is we can have temperature controlling those watches which we usually have or fridges and all. So we can know whether temperature has been achieved 160 degrees centigrade or not by using the temperature monitoring devices or the thermocouples. Now we also have some chemical sterilization controls like Brownie's tube, which is a special type of tube. What happens? It initially has a green color within it. It has a chemical which has a green color within it. What happens if a proper sterilization is achieved or a proper control is achieved, the color will not change. But if proper sterilization or proper temperature is not achieved, the color will change. So by change of color, we can know whether the sterilization has been achieved or not. Now, second is moisture sterilization. So in the moisture sterilization, we have three main things. That is, we have to divide it into three main things. The first is temperature below 100, then temperature at 100 degrees centigrade, and third is temperature above 100 degrees centigrade. In temperature below 100 degrees centigrade, most important pasteurization of milk, we know. Every day we come across this because the packets of milk which usually come into a house, they are sterilized by the use of pasteurization. Two methods, very important, usually asked in the your practicals or in your viva. The two methods are Holder method. What we do, we heat it for 63 degrees centigrade for 30 minutes. That is the Holder method, longer method. And second is the flash method, shorter method. That is 72 degrees centigrade for 20 seconds. It is just for 20 seconds, followed by cooling quickly to 13 degrees centigrade or lower. These are the two methods of sterilization by the pasteurization. We should remember all this. And important thing is that keep all non-sporing pathogens, including mycobacteria, Brucella, and Salmonella, are killed by the use of pasteurization, except Coxella burnetii, which may survive in the Holder method. Okay, this is your viva question. Coxella burnetii, it may survive in the Holder method because in the Holder method, the temperature which we achieve is less. It is 63 degrees centigrade, so it may survive. And other thing, usually this mycobacteria, why it is important, why I'm mentioning this, because bovine tuberculosis, then Brucella, it also causes this your bovine infections, and salmonella gastroenteritis. These are the infections which can be transmitted from animals to humans. So it is important that whatever sterilization method which we are using, it should be able to kill these three. It has been given that pasteurization is effectively able to kill these three organisms which are common causes of bovine infection in the humans. Then we have one more method in the temperature below 100 degrees centigrade, that is inspissation. We will come across another term, that is kindlization, later on. But first we will look at inspissation. So basically the principle of inspissation and kindlization is same, but the temperature use is different. In inspissation, what we do, on the 3 consecutive days, okay, we heat the article, whatever you want to sterilize, at 80 to 85 degrees centigrade for 30 minutes. Okay. We do it on 3 consecutive. Yani means on day 1, we will heat at 80 to 85 degrees centigrade for 30 minutes. Then we will let the article cool down. Then again after 24 hours, we will again repeat the process. And on day 3, we will again repeat the process. Okay, in a article in a machine called inspissation. What is the use of 3 days? Why are we doing like this? Basically what happens, there may be spores present on an organism, or there may be spores present on an object, there may be spore present in a media, there may be spore present on something which you want to sterilize. Okay. Now for killing the spores, we have to achieve a very high grade of temperature. We have to achieve 120, 130 degrees centigrade. But there may be some media, or there may be some things which may not be heat stable, which may not be able to survive at a very high temperature, like serum or egg containing medium such as algae media, low flow serum. So if we heat them to a 120 or 130 degrees centigrade, they will denaturate. The properties of that media will be lost. So what we are doing, we are heating it at 80 to 85 degrees centigrade on day 1. What that will do, that will kill all the microorganisms which are not in the spore form, which are in the viable form. But it will also serve one more purpose. When the spores will know that there is a favorable temperature, they will start germinating. So what will happen on day 2 or day 3, it may happen the spores which are already present, they might have germinated and they may have become a viable microorganism. So on day 2 or day 3, when we again heat that article, it may get killed. It will get killed by the inspissation. Now there is water bath used for the vaccines, whatever the bacterial vaccines or your serum or heat labor body fluids. Water bath is used to sterilize all those things. Now temperature at 100 degrees centigrade. It is most important boiling, but the important thing to note over here is that the time for boiling, it should be at least 10 to 30 minutes. When we do it for 10 to 30 minutes, then all the vegetative forms will be killed, but not all the spores. Then we have kindlization principle, same as inspissation, 3 days, but the temperature being used over here is more. It is 100 degrees centigrade. But one more difference is that here we use steam. There we were heating the article. Here we are using the steam to kill the microorganism. Again, time duration is less. Here it was 30 minutes. Here it is 20 minutes. But we are going to do this procedure for 3 consecutive days. Same principle. there will be germination of spores on day 2 or day 3, and they will get killed. Now, then we have steam sterilizer. That is the Arnold or the Coast steam sterilizer. This is a diagram. We have a perforated tube. So what will happen? Steam will go up from these perforated tubes, and whatever article we have placed, it will kill the microorganism, if any, present on those articles. Then we have temperature above 100 degrees centigrade. So what is basically the principle of temperature above 100 degrees centigrade? So water boils when its vapor pressure equals that of the surrounding atmosphere. Okay. So when the atmospheric pressure is raised, then the boiling temperature is also raised. You might have known how the things work in a pressure cooker. So what happens basically in the pressure cooker? We are increasing the pressure in the pressure cooker. So because of that, what is happening? The boiling temperature of the water is raised. So usually the water boils at 100 degrees centigrade. So when we are using a pressure cooker, or when we are increasing the pressure within a vessel or within an article, so what happens? The boiling temperature is raised. So what will be achieved by raising the boiling temperature? If we are achieving a higher temperature for boiling, we will have a greater effect on the killing of the microorganism. Instead of 100 degrees centigrade, if we are achieving a temperature of 110 degrees centigrade within this vessel, so it will be more helpful, or it will be more effective in killing the microorganism. The same principle it is in the pressure cooker. So why does the things easily get cooked in the pressure cooker? Is because we are increasing the atmospheric pressure which is within the pressure cooker. The pressure which is in the pressure cooker, it is raised. Because of that, the boiling temperature is also raised. So this principle has been applied to the autoclave, which are the usually used in your microbiology for sterilization of most of the articles. So what is the principle? Steam of 100 degrees centigrade or saturated steam has a better killing power than the dry heat. Bacteria are more susceptible to the moist heat as bacterial protein coagulates rapidly, and saturated steam can penetrate porous material easily. What happens when the steam comes in contact with a cooler surface, condenses to water and liquids taken it. So what happens? We have placed some articles in the autoclave. Now we have steam, which is at a very high temperature, more than 100 degrees centigrade. So what will steam do? Steam will come in contact with the other cooler things which we have placed, the articles which you want to sterilize. So whenever it comes into contact with those articles, what it will do? It will condense. When it will condense, now the steam, it has heat, it has energy. Now it has to lose its energy. So what it will do, as soon as it condenses, it will lose all its energy, and all that energy will go into that article. It will heat that article. So an example has been given: if 1600 ml of steam at 100 degrees centigrade at atmospheric pressure condenses into 1 ml of water, and there is a release of 518 kilocalories of it. Means a 1600 ml of steam at 100 degrees centigrade is equivalent to 1 ml of liquid water. And when this procedure, or when this process occurs, here release of 518 calories of the heat. So same things happen. The large reduction in volume sucks in more steam. So what will happen when we are, when 1600 ml of steam is getting converted into 1 ml of water? So there is formation of large devoid space. Initially the space was filled with steam, but now once it gets condensed, into 1 ml of water, there will be devoid of space. A lot of empty space will be there. So what that empty space will do? It will suck. It will lead to formation of more steam to the same site, and the process continues till the temperature of the article is raised to that of steam. The condensed water produces moist conditions for killing the microbes present. Now, various sterilization controls which are done. Now, the first we have 3 scenarios like hot air oven. First is temperature 121 degrees centigrade. Remember this. This comes into your viva. This comes into your spotters. The first scenario which we should achieve for proper sterilization is 121 degrees centigrade at 15 pound per square inch pressure for 15 minutes. This is the temperature, pressure, and time duration for autoclave. This is scenario 1. Or alternatively, 126 degrees centigrade for 10 minutes, or 133 degrees centigrade at 30 pounds per square inch pressure for 3 minutes. This is a figure of autoclave. Uses various culture media, rubber material, gowns, dressing gloves, etc. can be sterilized using autoclave. Glass syringes, hot air oven is better sterilizing method. There should be various precautions which we should take while sterilizing an item. The air must be allowed to escape from the chamber, and free circulation of steam should happen inside the chamber. Various sterilization controls have been used as in autoclave. Here, like bacterial spores of Geobacillus stereothermophilus, they can be used. Then thermocouple, used to record a temperature directly by a potentiometer. It is like a clock, a temperature clock, which tells us what is the temperature inside. Then chemical indicators like Brownies tube, which contains red solution, which turns green if proper sterilization is achieved, and autoclave tapes. Now we have two small topics, that is a filtration and radiation. These are also types of physical methods which can be used for the sterilization. So when do we use filtration on? When if there's anything which can be damaged by heat, any sugar, sera or antibiotic solution which can be damaged by even by slight increase in heat. So in that cases we use various filters. Filters which have very small pore size, which can hold back the bacteria, which can hold back the viruses. So in those cases we use filtration. Various kinds of filters as mentioned here. There are 6 types of filters. Not important. Then we have radiations, 2 types of radiation, ionizing and non-ionizing radiation. In ionizing radiation, we have gamma, X-rays, and cosmic rays. This is very important. Remember this gamma radiation. Usually in your spotters, a plastic syringe will be kept. Usually, it is a very common specimen, very common in your Viva question. A plastic syringe will be kept, and the question will be there: how do you sterilize this? Then you have to remember that gamma radiation. The plastic syringe, it is usually kept in your spotters. Remember, it is sterilized by using the gamma radiation, which is a type of ionizing radiation. Then we have non-ionizing radiation like UV rays, infrared rays. I think everyone knows. I think the chapter is over with it. Thank you.